Guys, welcome back to the weekly roundup. What's the date? We'll tell you the dates today. So
It-
it's the 2nd of June today.
It is.
It's obviously week 8 of the weekly roundup where we talk about the latest news surrounding crypto, your economy, which we'll start with today, and then maybe a bit of TA at the end.
And obviously some XRP focus.
Oh
news
yeah,
as well.
of course. Like everyone should know that by now.
Of course,
What to expect.
Week 8, by the way.
So 2 months. We've been doing it for 2
Yeah,
months.
that's mad. It's gone quick,
It's
isn't
gone
it?
really quick. I
Really
don't feel like I've been doing it for 2 months, to be fair. It's going well.
Yeah.
As it
Enjoying
progresses, the production will go up. Obviously, we're live today.
We're live in person.
I need one of these mics, to be fair, because my audio is not as good as yours.
Yeah, it's cool, Mike.
Huh?
It's cool, Mike.
Yeah, it's a cool mic. I was just gassing it up. But cool. We'll start off with non-XRP news. And as you can see on your screen here, Biden, Powell, and Yellen are meeting Wednesday. It was today. Today?
Two
Yes.
2 days ago.
Which was the 31st of May. And at the top of the agenda was inflation.
Yeah,
Which-
I mean, it's an important topic right now.
That's probably the main thing that they're speaking about, really, in all their meetings. I think they're going to.
Yeah, so I think, the market reacted quite badly yesterday. We don't know whether that was to this or whether it was something else. Obviously, yesterday, being the 1st of June, quantitative tightening did start with the Fed. Maybe some reaction around that, or maybe it was just a bad day in the market in general.
Yeah.
People might have been nervous about this specific
But
headline.
has any information been handed out about this?
Nothing's come out about it yet, but on the speculation of this. But I think the opposite, because I think if anything, Biden's going to come out and be like, "Oh, we need to ease," like quantitative quantitative easing,
Yeah.
because they've got midterm elections. Biden's getting ripped in the polls. He's got to come out and save face or do something. He's not going to go out there and smash the economy as well, in my opinion.
I think they'll just be talking about interest hikes because when are they going to announce the hikes? So we've got one in mid-June, I think, 15th, something like that. 15th has been ringing out to me. We've got one in July, and then one in September. September, is it?
Yeah, but there's also been this week comments from one of the Fed governors, a bit more dovish, saying they might ease off in September.
I've heard a lot of people say that though as well. Even I think is Raoul Powell under that assumption now. A
Yeah,
lot of big names.
He always thought that, but then someone's come out. One of the actual Fed people who works at the Fed has come out and said that it's possible.
And it makes sense, to be fair. I guess time will tell, because I guess they're just waiting for more data on inflation to see what the readings come in at before I guess they act. But they're obviously already pre-planning it, because I guess if anyone's going to know, these guys have got a good idea in terms of where they think inflation's going.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In terms of an accurate prediction, these guys will have it kind of.
Yeah, and also I don't really believe what people say when they say, "Oh, they don't care about the economy and the stock market." They do care.
They do.
They're not gonna let it crash. In my opinion,
think the best way to word it is they do care about that, but they obviously are more bothered about
Focused,
inflation,
yeah.
especially Biden now, like you said, because he's got those midterm elections. He doesn't want to be bringing bad news into do you know what I mean, the public.
Yeah, but I think equally because the elections are coming soon. I don't know if they're in September, are they? I'm not sure.
I'm not too sure.
But I think they're in September. He's going to do whatever he can short term to save face for the elections, and it doesn't really matter on the long term effect of the economy.
Not really.
in their opinions, that's the bad thing about politics, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
we'll do whatever we can now short term to make ourselves look good, and then you vote for us, and then the economy might be shit in about a month's time, or 2 months' time, or a year's time, whatever.
That is the world we live in, mate, unfortunately.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? His main goal is obviously to get re-elected, so he doesn't want to lose the chance of doing that. And
Yeah,
if
he
it
doesn't
means
wanna lose the house
if it
either.
means getting people on his side short term, fair enough.
Yeah, it's just not right. It's not the way the world should be run.
No, but it's always been like that. So,
True.
and we're
True.
here. We're here today
We are.
on the brink of flipping collapse. But
Oh boy,
That's another topic
how
for
long
another
can they
day.
inflate the bubble for?
not long, not long. But no, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see what comes out of that. Are they going to come out and kind of discuss what they discussed in this, or
Yeah, no, I don't know.
is it just
I really
behind
don't
closed
know.
doors?
Yeah,
I'm
not
guessing
sure.
it's just behind closed doors, and we'll find out through interest rate hikes or not.
Yeah, and I'm presuming they'll probably come out and talk about it a little bit. They'll be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this is what we discussed," or blah blah blah. I don't know.
Yeah, because that would have huge effects on the market. Because I feel like the inflation narrative is the main thing that's affecting price, actually.
Yeah, I do.
Or short term, anyway.
I do,
Making everything quite volatile.
especially in equity markets.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. But yeah, UK back in the news. Our guy Rishi Sunak, and he says basically saying we've made a firm commitment to placing ourselves at the forefront of crypto technology and innovation. Again, no, it's not a secret. We've spoke about it on previous episodes about UK being a front runner in terms of blockchain adoption, just taken that front step ahead of other certain countries, like USA, for example. You know, and he's come out again. They've been quite vocal with it again as well, which is something I like, because then they're going to get more attention in terms of crypto.
Yeah.
Good for us people who actually live in the UK as well.
Yeah, well, we were like a leader in fintech, like financial technology or whatever, and now obviously crypto is probably the next step in terms of the future of finance, and so they're taking the chance while they can to really capitalise on that. And we saw an article, I don't think we've got it open, but about stable coins in the UK, and there was a statement yesterday that Rishi Sunak came out and said that if any stable coin basically collapses, that they'll try and back it. How much weight that actually has to it, I'm not sure, but
it's a big statement, that is.
It is a big statement, but I mean, it is a statement still, and it's something he said, and it's published. So
yeah, I mean, like we were just speaking about it off camera just before we went live here, but you kind of said, and just a conversation you had with someone else about Rishi Sunak wouldn't be able to afford a collapse of, like, I don't know, USDT, for example. So, but would he come out and say that statement if he didn't have backing from other big?
Yeah, I don't know. That's where it becomes a difficult one to, because he could also always, which politician's very good at doing, like, adapt the statement. Yeah. He's like, oh, I only meant this stable coin or whatever.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? This specific stable coin, not that one.
Quite vague, but he said, at least they are saying, making statements like that, which is probably positive for crypto, especially with what happened to UST. The amount of, like, Koreans that lost money, and not just Koreans, but obviously they were hit
in general,
the hardest. But
and they've really, like, tried to go after Do Kwon.
That's what I mean. So maybe he's just putting it out there a bit, like, more protection for maybe UK. Like I said, I don't know. It's a very vague statement.
I think the reason that he's putting a statement out there like that is because he's like, okay, well, if you want to innovate and you want to create stablecoins or whatever, come to the UK.
It's friendly.
That's what he's saying.
I guess that's true.
Come to the UK and
we've
we'll
kind of got your back a bit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of crypto companies and obviously people like are and would need a bit more reassurance.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if we were trying to create some sort of startup within crypto, I'm looking at, it doesn't really matter for where it is for me.
No.
It just matters who's got the best rules and who's going to help me the best.
That's what I mean. Just like Brad Garland, I said he wouldn't ever advise anyone to start it in the US just due to the fact of the poor legislation at the moment. He'd advise, like, the UK, I think he specifically said, Europe,
Singapore,
or whatever, because they're just more friendly, and, like, there's obviously more chance you're going to be successful in those countries opposed to US. But
yeah, for sure. And that kind of leads us on to our next tab, actually, which is this one.
So again,
actually, just before we leave that last tab, just want to say, we say every week, countries to watch out for: UK, India, Brazil. They're my shouts anyway.
I agree.
To do with Ripple and XRP and maybe the forefront of crypto.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. But maybe not the US, but the US are in this tweet, to be fair. But Ripple are working with banks in the UK and US to issue stablecoins and reserves likely to be held in a central bank accounts.
That is mad.
That is big.
That is mad. Don't you think, like, this is actually a bit nuts? So, I know we talked about this a little bit last week with Palau.
Yeah.
But how mad is it that UST collapses, and then out of nowhere, Ripple have been so vocal and open about stable coins they're creating, government-backed stable coins, and now we've got two commercial banks who are going to be creating stable coins, supposedly. Well, until the announcement's actually out, we don't know, but they've literally said this at, I think this was at FinTech Week in Lithuania, because they've just had that partnership with the Lithuanian Central Bank, and then this has come out now. Like, what the timing of this is?
Yeah, it's clever. I think it's quite clever from Ripple, but it just again shows, like I said, every week so far they're doing bits, they're making their moves. But what I don't understand is how are Ripple going to help these banks issue a stablecoin? Like, what role do they play in it?
Well, it'll be released in the XRPL.
Oh, so using their ledger.
Yeah, but the mad thing about it is, like, that's a massive announcement. That's a massive statement to make. We're going to come out with two commercial banks and release a stablecoin. Like, who else is doing that? No one.
No one.
Literally nobody. We've got USDC, obviously, mainly runs on ETH. We saw Jeremy Allaire say, we could scale better on a company like Brad, so be an XRP in the XRP ledger with Ripple. Yeah. And now we've got Ripple have come out and said, we're going to work with two commercial banks, one in the UK, one in the US. The reserves are going to be held in the central bank, and we're basically helping them roll out a stablecoin.
Yeah, that's...
How long is it going to be before the actual announcement of who they are comes out? That's what I want to know.
Well, especially because obviously US are involved, and the US partnerships will be obviously held because of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, UK, who knows? But I guess they'll wait for these countries to bring out framework and get that established first before they start announcing what they're actually going to do, because I guess everything is technically still in the air in terms of what they can and can't do.
That there is a mad statement.
But it's huge.
That's a mad statement. No one's
huge.
talking about it again though.
It's just
This
comes
is the
down to
thing.
sentiment at the moment. Everyone doesn't. Everyone's like so almost like numb. They like see a bit of good news and like, oh.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said last week, if we saw certain news articles come out, this one and like all the Garling House comments last week, it would potentially move prices.
Yeah, but even imagine like this sort of statement came out for something like Bitcoin, the price action would go insane.
Yeah, but it's just because it's XRP as well. Like, honestly, I just don't think people actually understand the logistics of it.
No, I don't think so.
Do you know what I mean? So like, they'll just read that and they'll be like, okay. They
Yeah,
don't
I don't think
understand
they
what
want
it
to.
means.
Yeah, I don't think they even want.
Yeah,
to.
I guess so. That just shows how tarnished like XRP/Ripple's reputation is at the moment.
And like how immature our market is.
Yeah, because I just feel like a lot of people, particularly our age, don't actually want to learn. They just kind of prefer to get told.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's easy. It is easy to digest information if you're just told it, opposed to like reading it and then okay, actually, what does that actually mean? And going into it, like actually clicking that YouTube link, doing a bit of a deep dive into it. People just don't do that.
People our age just want to get rich quick, man.
That's
they
what it
just
is.
see like a green, like any. They just try and chase pump and dumps, and like
That's
they see
what
a
I
green
mean,
candle,
like-
they're like, oh yeah, do you know what? I'll put like this in there. And like even actually, this is kind of a weird one because I texted someone the other day saying they asked me, and obviously this isn't financial advice. They were like, oh, where would I recommend like investing in crypto? And I said, well, XRP within like 2-3 years, it's going to be worth more than it is now, in my opinion. He's like, oh, I haven't got 3 years to wait.
That's what I mean. People, they just do want it now, and I guess like
He's an intelligent guy.
yeah, but like even some mates who I know who I went to university with, like I went to London a couple of weeks ago, and when the whole UST thing was literally in the thick of it, and they were like buying. Okay, they were only buying like £10-20 worth, which is
Okay.
fine because like I said to them straight away because I heard them speaking about it. I was like, I'll stay very clear of that. It's just an instant like delete your money scheme kind of
Yeah.
thing. Do you know what I mean? Like if you. But he just kind of worded it like, okay, if I'm going to bet like £20 on an accumulator, I would rather put it in this because of what people.
Yeah,
Because that's what
fair.
it just represents what people chase.
Yeah, people think that like it's a speculative like gambling space at the minute.
That's
Don't they,
basically.
almost.
That's basically, but it's not.
No.
It's not. It really
Not
is
if you look into it, it's
They-
not at all.
It's because, like I said, they don't. Not that they don't understand it, because if they took the time to like, especially those guys, if they took the time to actually research it, they'll understand and they'll be on the same wavelength as us. But
Yeah.
like I said, people just prefer to kind of get told what to invest in, brief reason to why, but they don't actually understand.
Yeah, they just bury the head in the
utility.
sand and just look at.
If you actually understand like what this statement means and the utility
Yeah.
that it can provide to the XRPL, it's just
Yeah.
it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like, but
massive.
I guess we're speculating at the moment now, but we're just going off information that we're being told.
Yeah, there's difference between speculating and gambling, and like I think if you
Oh, yeah,
speculate off
100%.
information that you find, yeah, you're never going to be 100% right, and like anything could always happen. But if you back in that with information and research, you can make a valid point for yourself. But if you're just going like, oh yeah, like that's got a green candle, or Elon Musk just tweeted about Doge, I'm going to buy some Doge. It's like, what are you investing in? Nothing. You're investing in hype. That's it.
exactly what it is. I feel like that's the majority of the maturity of
Yeah,
the market. Sorry, like our age anyway.
yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like older people kind of do research a bit more because they're a bit more hesitant, especially coming into crypto,
Yeah,
which because people just don't really trust it at the moment, which is fair enough.
yeah, exactly. So
But people already trust it, but they're just like, okay, cool, I'm in, I'm on board. Let
Mm.
me know what to buy. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Well, I think money means less to people our age. It is actually feels like it's not worth much,
Yeah.
does it? Like the pound isn't like when I think about like a pound or a few pound now, like it's just not worth anything to me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We kind of think XRP.
Yeah, that's what I value things in now.
That's
How much
crazy.
XRP is that going to cost me?
That's
And what can I buy with that pound? How much XRP can I buy with that pound?
So we'll move on swiftly.
So it's a big headline anyway.
Yeah, that was a big headline. This is also a big headline, to be fair.
Different but big.
It's different. What's going on here? I want to know your thoughts.
So Singapore, like Central Bank of Singapore, are like teaming up with JP Morgan with Project Guardian to basically release what they're calling
Big
is their
It's a big name.
yeah big names in the finance space. They're basically releasing what they're called decentralized finance
With a centralized.
with a centralized company and central bank, but exploring asset tokenization. So maybe we don't know exactly what's going on here yet because it's just the first like bit that's coming out. But anything where JP Morgan's involved,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
working with a central bank's got to be.
Yeah, it's good to at least kind of get them on board and like working in terms of the direction of crypto / DeFi or whatever they're working on. it shows that companies like that of that stature are actively seeking like new opportunities within the space. So like, again, it's to me, I read that it's a positive. Whether you can obviously can argue, oh, they're all centralized, but I guess there can maybe be a middle ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't know how the two worlds are gonna work together yet, because, like I said, we're only seeing like the first news articles come out with first companies dipping a toe in it almost at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't got framework. We've got there's a lot of positives and negatives to centralised finance. Like, for example, we've had so many people complaining and like, and this is very sad, but some people took their lives from like the Luna thing, and it's like, well, if that was centralised, that wouldn't happen because they'd have insurance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so
that's true. That's a really good way to put it.
Whether you think that that's a good or a bad thing, that's fine. And if you're a libertarian, you don't believe in that, that's also fine. But if you've got money in the space, then you're not just a libertarian, you are a speculator investor. Yeah. Otherwise, you just support it from the sideline, being like, oh yeah, you should do this, shouldn't do that. Yeah. So it's a big mix, and like I'm here because I like the tech and I think it could change our financial future. But I'm also here to make money. Like if there's an opportunity where I can invest into it and I can make it hopefully a return, and that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. I'm not here to throw money away for no reason.
That's it. I think I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who says whatever. I think for anything to work in this world that we live in, I think you need a certain extent of centralisation. I'm not saying like 50-50. I'm on about just a certain amount of it as a bit of a cushion to protect us consumers.
Yeah, and like we're never going to bring in the majority of the public the way that crypto is at the minute. Like no one can even. I know people who, well, from my mum for example, doesn't even online bank. So how is she going to make a transaction between like different crypto wallets?
Exactly.
You need custodians to be holding it, taking the risk away. Even if they take percentages away like they're doing in CeFi now, like centralised finance, then that's what people of older generations need and want. Or not necessarily older generations, but just people who distrust it in general, don't have technology experience. It just needs to be more easy and accessible and more safe than it is right now.
Yeah, 100%. If you want it to actually be adopted, but on a large scale, in terms of, I'm talking billions, I'm talking majority of the world, which I honestly do think it will one day. Maybe, obviously, I honestly think in our lifetime as well.
Oh, sooner rather than later, bro. I think within a few years we'll start to see.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just because I see like a lot of comments out there, people saying, "Oh, you're early." Obviously, it's potentially could be at the back end of our generation, but I just disagree with that massively. But it's spot on.
Like, if we just use like network adoptions, like it's coming, but for it to come properly, it's just got to be easier. It's just got to be easier and safer. That's it. And I think that's coming. And this is the first little insight into that sort of thing.
It's good to see, and I'm sure, like we say, we're going to start seeing a lot of these articles similar to this that support the same narrative trickling out.
Yeah.
Different companies, different big companies, working with or exploring the digital asset world, providing a bit of centralisation.
Yeah,
which, like I said, a bit well needed one. But I think, like I said, majority of this kind of stuff will kind of come out once we've got a clear framework.
Yeah. And I also saw the CEO of Soros Investment Management, so George Soros' hedge fund. She came out and said that like crypto's not going away, but she said something interesting, and that was that this is kind of not the same, but it's just because they're a big CeFi name. She said that hedge funds and banks will probably look more towards Ethereum than Bitcoin because of two reasons. One, because it's switching to proof of stake and the environmental factor. And then two, because they can obviously earn passive interest from being a validator on ETH. So
it's a fair comment to make, to be fair. Whether it does, again, we'll find out because we need the utility to come in order to people to experiment and actually make that decision.
Yeah, but just there, at least it's on the radar. They're buying stuff now. Like, and when everyone's talking about it, like you see big corporations like this, they start talking about crypto. They probably bought it years ago.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Even whether they don't speak about it or they're not allowed to speak it because of certain things, but they're 100% people. Mm-hmm. The smart money.
Same with central banks. I've had this conversation a lot of times. I say that central banks will have some exposure to crypto, whether they declare it or not, because they'll have people working in there who are risk assessors, and they'll say, look, there's a 1% chance that Bitcoin might do this in the future, go to this price, compete with us in this level. If these situations happen, they have loads of different modelling systems of how different things can happen in the world. If these situations happen, it'll be worth this amount. It could compete with our banking system. It could do this, and this, different cryptos. So they will have some sort of exposure against that to make sure they hedge to that 1%. All central banks will probably have some exposure to crypto in some way.
100%. Like I said, the vast majority of them wouldn't publicise it, I don't think, yet. Whether they're allowed to or not.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's obviously going to have their own risk team in there, and they obviously have a couple of brain cells in there, and they would have put 2 and 2 together and have some sort of exposure. You'd be silly not to. You'd be silly not to.
But if we can work out as basic retail investors, with the tools that we have, that even using things like network effect and Metcalfe's law, that this sort of adoption rate will happen, they work that out before we have.
Yeah, 100%. These guys, as soon as crypto, I think, became a thing, and people started talking about where it could potentially go. I'm talking years ago. I'm talking like 2016, 17 kind of time.
Maybe even before, bro.
They would have kind of
13, 14.
been there again, just to kind of like hedge it, just in case, as a just in case investment kind of thing.
Yeah, like an insurance against it.
I'd say they're laughing now if they did obviously get back, whether they did or not. But even now, in terms of where it could potentially go, they're still that point still valid.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, we'll go into a bit more XRP. But before we do, it'd be rude not to speak about Gary again. So it's come out this week that a lot of people, they're not just any workers within the SEC, big names. Big names. People have big important roles. Like, as you can see here, SEC leaders with nearly 50 years experience quit under Gary Gensler's tenure. Doesn't surprise me. It's probably why he was advertising a lot of jobs recently. And again, that came out a few months ago that he was advertising the next one. Maybe he obviously knew people were out the door.
Yeah.
And I wonder why. Actually, I've obviously got my own theories in terms of
why.
why.
Some theories as well.
I guess you guys know that as well. I'm sure you have the same kind of opinion. But it's obviously people are seeing what he's doing.
Yeah.
They either don't agree with it. Like, for instance, let's take the Ripple SEC. They don't agree with it because they know he's wrong.
Yeah.
He's doing it for his own reasons, which they might know.
Yeah.
They already know that they've lost, so they might have heard those internal discussions. And they're like, okay, we don't really want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And another thing is, obviously, like you said, a lot of people, again, this is pure speculation, it might not be a thing, but like people are leaving because they want to get involved.
They want to buy some XRP. Quick, get out, lads, we can't buy it.
That's what I'll be doing.
But I saw one other headline that someone speculated that maybe a lot of them are leaving to distance themselves from the SEC because they know a lot of corruptions happened there over the years, and they want to like get away quickly.
Yeah.
And because they know they're going to get dug into.
Yeah, because they don't want their.
They might have been corrupt.
Yeah,
and they might try and put some space between themselves and the SEC.
Yeah,
and
they might already be dirt on the name, or they don't want that potential to have kind of dirt on the name,
exactly.
which might, affect them in the
obviously
future.
A lot of that's all our own personal speculation.
Yeah, of course. But regardless, it's putting a lot more pressure on
people
them.
are leaving, so there's that. That's not speculation. That's true.
People are leaving. You've got companies coming after him about how corrupt the SEC are, exposing him a bit. He's just absolutely under it at the moment. But
that leads on to our next point a little bit.
It does indeed, because this is pretty big. June the 7th, which is in 5 days' time, Tuesday. There's going to be a conference, so a face-to-face conference between Ripple, SEC, and which judge is it again? NetBurn.
Yeah.
Obviously discussing emails, and finally, we said this before, finally looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of getting our hands on these emails, because finally there's going to be a space where they're going to sit down and just kind of like let all their things out. Judges will then make a decision, and then boom, I think that's a final. You can't...
Yeah, basically from what I understand from this is that the judge is getting the SEC in to say, look, it's your last chance to tell us if it's his opinion or if it's SEC legislation. They've already changed their mind to say that it was his opinion. Then they said it was legislation. Now they've gone back to say it was his opinion again. So the judge is going to say, which one is it? Because she actually, the article that I read says that she expects an appeal and she wants a complete, like she wants it in writing from them to say, look, this is our actual opinion. Because they know that they're going to appeal it anyway.
Yeah,
so
she's probably getting a bit sick of it, don't you think? Like, just like, as obviously, even their judges on the case, so they've got to keep their opinion in the middle, which is obviously, you understand that completely, it's their job. But she's probably thinking, like, in her head, like, that they're actually taking the mickey in terms of what they're doing. It's a massive lawsuit, and they're literally like making a mockery out of it a bit.
Yeah.
So she's almost kind of got to put her foot down, because it does. I think it almost tarnishes their names as judges in cases in the future, like how they deal with the case and how they deal with the SEC.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard for them as well though, because they've got to just like. We in a democracy live in a world where like you're innocent until you're proven guilty, sort of thing. So if they want to keep bringing information and saying stuff, they've kind of got to let them say it until it comes to trial. Yeah. Like, this is the time when they can just say what they want, and then at trial they can be like, look, you did this, 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 and this. But at a point, you've got to just cut that off and be like, yo, that's too much.
Yeah.
And we saw like a certain attorneys that often speak to the community, and he said that, I can't remember what his name was, Bill. I did make a TikTok about it, but he was basically saying that he thinks it's likely that the judge is going to take them behind closed doors after the meeting into chamber, it's called, and say to the SEC like, stop doing this.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're going to say in person. She might even say that in person. She might be like, look, you're taking the mick, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But she also could, behind closed doors, say something like this. Is obviously again speculation, but she might say in front of the SEC to Ripple, the emails are really bad for the SEC, and that might influence the settlement. We don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
We don't know. So
let's just see what comes out of that. I guess we'll find out.
But
and
I think just quickly. I think the likely outcome is, even if they do that, I think then the SEC will still appeal it to Judge Torres, because they're just trying to play delay cards, and then Ripple's going to be sitting there like, yeah, okay, appeal it, and then Torres is going to make a decision, and it's still going to be probably a month until they release the notes, and then from there, when they get to that, say that's 2 or 3 months time. That's
I still think like we're making like good, progress in terms of getting these emails, because he should have been out a long time ago. But like you said, it could probably be delayed for another month or two. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But it doesn't mean XRP won't move within that time.
Depends what happens in the market. Depends what happens with
in the
Bitcoin,
market, which is what we're looking at now. It's on the 4 hourly, I think. What are we thinking? This is to sum up our poddy for the day. Bitcoin is up 1.5%. It's still basically ranging.
It's still ranging. It is still ranging, but I don't know. It's hard to say what's going on, and like almost like hesitant to kind of put my opinion out there. But I've got a good decision in terms of my head. Where
just say what you think. Like, it's just your opinion, isn't it?
Well, but regardless of the price action, I still think my opinion still say the same as we talk about every week in terms of dollar cost average and planning for the best case scenarios, having cash for the worst case scenarios, building that exposure that you want.
Yeah.
that's still the game plan. Whether it goes up to like 35k now is a bit of a relief rally, goes down to test those lows that we had at 25, maybe go down lower to the low 20s, and then from then we kind of go back up, or do we go to 35 and just smash through and surprise everyone? Like, who actually knows what's going to go on?
That's what I mean. So, but I think our point at these prices is that it's decent accumulation levels, barring any black swan event, obviously. But you can't really just sit on the sidelines and be like, could be a black swan all the time.
There's no point in trading.
2 interesting things that we do normally check on are the DXY did have a bit of a relief rally out, bouncing off the 50-day moving average, but looks to have a red engulfing candle today. If that finishes maybe a little bit lower percentage-wise. And this is another thing that I pointed out to you earlier, Pav, that I've had my eye on. A potential head and shoulders pattern here. It's pretty textbook, to be honest.
On the 10 years.
Yeah, on the 10-year Treasury bonds, they've rallied back to the same height. Look, you can see it here. But even put the horizontal line in.
That's a nice head and shoulders, though.
Yeah, I think so.
In terms of technical analysis goes, that's clean. Like,
it's pretty decent.
Yeah, so you just got to keep your eye on everything. Like, you can't just kind of sit there and look at the Bitcoin chart. You got to be on the ball with just economic news, taking a macro view on it, looking at 10 years. If you don't know about it, go do some research into it again. But like, people just don't want to listen to it. They don't want to know. They don't know what a 10-year is. They're like, okay, we'll just keep up to date in terms of what this guy's telling me. They don't keep an eye on it. But I'd really recommend you guys keep an eye on everything.
Go and dig and find what's good for you as well. Like, this is the way that we research, but there's like millions of different ways you can research about crypto. You can research just in fundamentals. You can research just price action. You can research like loads of different things. You can look at wider economics. You can do whatever, but it's just like find a investing strategy, I guess, that works for you, and then create some sort of structure from it.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you do that, you're on a winning strategy, because you're going to find something that works for you. Like, recently myself, I've been diving into like the economics a lot more, listening to a lot of like interviews on YouTube in terms of where they think the economy is going, because I don't want to be put in that category where I'm investing in because I want gains next month. I'm investing because I want to know that where the economically where we're going, how that's going to affect crypto, where my investment is going to go into, when it's going to go into, more importantly, because that will help you time your investment. Like I said, picking the bottom is a bit of a foolish game, but it'll help you find an area where you're going to heavily deploy your capital in terms of dollar cost averaging. So
and I think that's the important thing, is like, no one's ever going to be bang on. I mean, like, even if you look at the best macro investors in the space, they're all arguing with each other about what's going on. So I think that it's important, especially for me at the minute, what I'm trying to do is just make sure that there's not really any scenarios that come out that will wrong foot me.
Yeah.
Like, if it comes down, okay, I'm prepared. I understand that that's a risk. We could go up from here, and I've got the position sizes that I want.
That's
for
it.
right now.
Like we said, I've said this every week. In my opinion, and probably yours as well, that's the best strategy to take. Especially like we say, in terms of the current environment, it's the best thing to do right now because everything's really uncertain.
Yeah.
Just keep your eye on everything and make your decision as and when the price moves to certain points. Do you think it's following this scenario? Like we say, so from my scenario right now, let's take that for example. If it does go up to 35 and it does start breaking above a lot of price levels that people suspected that rally will kind of downturn from, then you can start shifting. Do I start deploying more now, etc. You just got to take that risk because it is a bit risky, obviously trading. Like you got to appreciate that, but
have a strategy and keep it fluid though.
Just back yourself really.
Yeah.
In terms of what you do your research and make that decision. If you make a mistake, you learn from it.
Yeah.
Just don't try and not overexpose yourself at the wrong time.
That's the hard thing.
That is the hard thing, but the only way you kind of limit that.
I wouldn't leverage in this position.
No,
That's my personal opinion. It's like, because then even if you do mess
sure.
up big time, like as long as you just hold your asset, like over time, crypto's growing. And
worst comes to absolute worst, you hold it for 5 years and you would have 100% made money on it. Basically. That's
exactly.
what the cycles have told us in the past anyway. But
so that's my logic on it. Look, any exposure I'm getting now, hopefully within 2 years, because we're probably halfway through a bear market if we're in one. If not, we might have a relief rally, or we might have an alt season, and if not, like I said, we could be halfway through a bear market. So I'm thinking within 2 years, like top side, we're probably starting to see positive price action again.
I agree with that, yeah.
So worst case scenario, if I'm super wrong, I've got to hold for 2 years, and then we're out of the side.
That's what I mean. And if you're comfortable with that thought, if you're comfortable with your money invested in how much cash you got sitting on the side, and you can actually live your life and do stuff you want to do, that's the ideal.
That's the important part,
because you don't want to overexpose yourself and then we actually do end up going into like a 2 year bear market or
even
end
like
of 2023 or whatever, and you've got no cash. You're just going to be sitting there struggling now for
like 2 years. Let's say we have like inflation hits us harder and you can't afford your bills, these sorts of things.
What I mean.
And that's where you get yourself into a problem. So that's why it's so important to only invest what you can afford to lose. I know everyone says that like so blasé, but it's just in a way of like, can you withstand volatility both in your spending habits, like can you save more, can you spend more, like have you got the disposable income if like for example energy prices went up like 100% in the last year, if they do that again, can you still afford it
with your money
without having to sell your assets? And that's where you need to start like putting yourself in that position. But in my opinion, prices around here are a decent start accumulating, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that's the end of the podcast. Week 8.
That's a wrap on week 8.
Man.
Still no intro or outro. We are working on it still.
Yeah, we might have one coming soon.
Yeah, we are. We'll try and get a couple of guests on as well.
Yeah.
Next week we'll try and get a guest on.
Yeah,
just spice things
up,
even if it's Harry.
Yeah, okay, we'll get Harry.
Because again, it's interesting to hear other people's opinions.
And he works at a crypto company.
He does work at a crypto company.
Does UXUI?
UXUI. He'd be an interesting person to speak to.
Yeah, he would.
So, but yeah, if you guys wanted to speak about anything specific over the week,
or if you want us to get a specific guest on,
or a specific guest, we can try.
Hit me up in the comments
and use Crypto Insights contacts.
Get us someone in.
Paul, so we could get in. But no, cool. That's week 8.
Hope
See you guys next week for week 9.
Peace up, A-Town down, as if you would say.